I am happy to be joined with two members of the senior management team at Body and Mind, CEO Michael Mills and Chief Operating Officer Trip Hoffman. Gentlemen, thank you for joining me today. How are things?
They're really good, Shad. How have you been?
Excellent. You know, obviously excited. Let's get this Safe Banking Act passed and get this industry going to another level. Trip, how are you?
I'm well. And yourself, Shad?
Excellent. Where are you? You Nevada or Colorado, Trip?
Today I'm in Nevada.
Nice. How's the weather?
You know, it's kind of cloudy and cool today compared to most days in Nevada, so I'm sure we're taking it in stride.
Well, let's focus on Nevada. And last week, obviously, a big week, 420 for the industry. To some accounts, what I'm hearing is the Las Vegas Strip traffic is as busy as pre-COVID days, and business is generally getting back to normal. Trip, will begin with you being the Chief Operating Officer. Are you seeing the same foot traffic in your dispensaries in Nevada that you did, say, pre-COVID levels?
Yeah, actually, even though the overall visitor traffic is down something around 60% from year over year, pre-COVID times, we're estimating that 60% represents all convention traffic, which is zero right now, and all the normal visitor traffic is actually slightly up over time. And because of that, those visitors, the non-conventioners, are the ones who frequent the dispensaries. And our dispensaries here in Las Vegas and throughout the state of Nevada are still seeing strong 30% CAGRs over the last 2 years because of that.
Well, that's excellent, obviously, for business. What are you seeing overall, lifestyle-wise, like as it pertains to your industry? Is there a lot of, I guess, normality, so to speak, within the state that, like, are the casinos picking up? Are people getting out more? Obviously, transactions are picking up. Were you stem to benefit from that?
Yeah, to the extent the casinos are relying upon the normal visitor traffic that's non-convention, you know, they're busy. I've heard stories about some of the casinos not being able to find enough people to hire to operate their gaming tables. They're actually offering special deals and things like that. So there's a high demand and high growth right now in the city of Las Vegas.
That's exciting to say the least. There's hope, right? There's hope.
Yeah. We're rounding the corner here, Shad.
Yeah, it sounds great, to say the least. Well, one of the things, obviously, I wanted to touch about as well. I've seen reports, like, for example, another client that we work with, Ayr Wellness, and other organizations have experienced record 420 sales, referring to cannabis as unofficial holiday. The momentum of the legal cannabis market is growing at a pace we've never seen before. So let's focus on you. How was the overall traffic last week on April 20th? And Trip, I'll begin with you.
Yeah, so April 20th last week was our best ever April 20th, like everyone else is in the country. There's continues to be strong growth by the consumers, just overall organic growth and adoption by new consumers, as well as a conversion of the black market into the legal market. We're seeing more of that. Our past crises, whether it's the vape crises or other things, like we do believe that even the COVID scenario pushed more people over from the black market. Both of those things are driving new sales. In 2020, our 420 celebration or sales had to be spread out over time because we had limitations on capacity. So this year we were able to do some real focused 420 sales with food trucks and specials and you know, sort of swag giveaways and things. And we took advantage of that, but we also took advantage of also shouldering it out. We've had some fantastic weeks, and you know, our numbers will show themselves when we do get around to releasing them. But we're very happy with how our 420s went across the country.
Well, consumers that are transitioning from black market to legal market, what do you think is changing? What's the difference?
A couple of things. One is they're learning to trust the legal market because we're well tested, so all your product is tested clean. People in the black market finally realize, hey, it might have some more, you know, some more powdery mildew or mold on my joint than I thought I had.
Yeah,
that's one thing. And the other thing is that the prices in the legal market are coming down. You are seeing price compression, at least in the states that have been around for a while, whether it's Colorado, Nevada, or California, for example. And so as that price compression, and of course the cost of producing goods also comes down as people become more efficient at their operations, that also attracts more of those black market consumers.
Yeah, that's good to see. How was, I guess, overall sales that you found last week on 420 compared to, say, other 420 days in years past?
You know, I would say that we set records like we always do because we are growing from year to year. I would say that the year-over-year growth of a record is probably not as spiky as you otherwise would have it from some years, but that's because we are spreading out our sales to do you know, promotions over a longer period of time. You know, many people prefer not to just have to go shopping on 420. So if we offer them sales and specials on 419 and 421, they're happy to come a day early or a day late and still get their supply and do their celebrations. And since we're offering the same sales or other sales, they still participate in some really bargain transactions.
Bypass the lines, that's for sure. Michael, let's talk about a possible bill within the state of Nevada. It's a bill to allow on-site marijuana consumption lounges, advanced through a Nevada Assembly Committee back on April 9th. So if this bill becomes law, would you seek to apply newly licensing categories authorizing retail cannabis consumption lounges throughout the state?
Yeah, Shad, we would have to take a look at the metrics around that. And obviously, anytime there's a licensing opportunity, anytime there's a change in the license and our ability to participate, we take a very close look at that. Obviously, we've been successful at winning licenses in the past. We've got licenses in a number of jurisdictions right now.
Right.
So, as the metrics of what that looks like become more clear, we'll certainly take a close look at it.
That's exciting to say the least. I guess, you're speaking to a group of shareholders right now, looking at the overall health of the company. The industry's been a little bit flat. And I know probably your share price, you guys are thinking, let's get this baby going a little bit. But most importantly, the business fundamentals are being done. But if you're speaking to a group of shareholders and my viewers right now, what's the number one message that you want to get through to them as there continues to be more and more excitement and momentum building as we get further deeper into 2021?
Yeah, I think, the big thing about the cannabis industry is it continues to grow. And we've seen so much change in regulation over the last 6 months. If you go back 6 months ago, I think the biggest hope in the entire industry was that perhaps we would get safe banking passed. There may be an opportunity for some states to either become legal for medical or become, move from medical to adult use. The pace of change that we've seen around the legalization of cannabis has been greatly accelerated. And, there's been a couple polls that have come out in the last month or so that have talked about, general attitudes around a normalization and around deregulation or legalization. And it just keeps increasing. And the number of people across the US who want to see, some form of decriminalization or legalization, I think that the most recent Pew research that came out was close to 90%. So we're seeing this normalization of cannabis. We're seeing this acceptance of cannabis. We're seeing new consumers who, maybe tried it, years ago when they were younger, who are coming back because it's now legal in their state. And we're seeing some curious people who've never tried cannabis, but they've been told by friends that this is something that their friend has received benefit from. So I just continue to see, the growth of this industry moving forward, and every study that comes out, predicts a larger market size down the road here. So I think this is a great industry to be in, particularly in the United States. And when you're looking at strong operators like ourselves, I think we've demonstrated that we have the ability and the skill set to move the company forward into a great position now and replicate that going forward.
Well, I look at, everything that you've come out with as far as your latest financials, the conversations that we have ongoing, it just continues to build more and more momentum. And what do you think is kind of like that turning corner? Is it safe banking that needs to get through to get people excited and to get, the overall market going again? Because a lot of people I speak to within this industry right now are echoing everything that you're saying, that everything points in the right direction. Yet, when you look at it from a pure capital markets standpoint, it still remains a little flat over the last couple of months.
Yeah, I think there was a real level of enthusiasm after the election. And everyone felt like cannabis was going to be legalized sort of, by March.
Myself.
And I think that it's what people have been hoping to see. And I think people are realizing it's going to take a little bit longer.
Yeah.
But, I think the most important thing for everyone to consider is the fundamentals of the business have not changed.
Yeah.
This continues to be a high growth business with a lot of opportunities. And, when you've been a player like Trip and myself and Body and Mind, and you've got the cuts and bruises and you've figured this business out on many levels, those opportunities become even more available.
Yeah. I want to shift my attention now on the state and operations in Arkansas. You recently announced that Body and Mind have commenced cultivation operations in West Memphis, Arkansas. Congrats, which will serve its medical dispensary in the state. So wanted to ask, are you seeing or hearing anything about Arkansas's chances to become a recreational state in the next couple of years? Trip, we'll begin with you.
Yeah, well, we watched the state make an effort last year with a petition drive to get adult use on the ballot, and it was going well and predicted to be on the ballot, with polls showing 65 and 70% of the population approving it. But COVID basically shut down those door-to-door petitions. And because it's an every other year ballot procedure, we have to wait until 2022 now. So I would expect, based upon that history, that in 2022 it'll be on the ballot and likely pass. And that would mean that sometime in 23, depending on how fast and quickly they would move, but then it would be be legal in 23 or sometime like that.
What opportunity, Michael, does that present once that comes to fruition for you within the state?
Yeah, what we've seen with most of our facilities is you get this first mover advantage by getting in at the medical level. You develop a good, strong customer base, and really, as it goes to adult use, it opens up such a larger part of the population, and you're there. You've got a strong brand, you've got a strong following. And we certainly went through that experience in Nevada, starting as an early medical company and watching legalization in that state. And it's a rocket ship, and we're going to continue seeing this across a number of states.
Well, you look at some of the states that get a lot of attention. Arkansas is not one of them, but as we learn more and more, it's a tremendous opportunity within that state, is it not?
It is, and one of the things that we've always focused on is limited license states.
Right.
In Arkansas, there's roughly 3 million people. There's, I believe, 40 dispensaries that have been licensed. And when you compare that to other markets, certainly in Canada, the metrics really work into our favor very well. Similarly in Ohio, less than 60 dispensaries, 11.5 million people in Ohio. So
Think about that. That's a staggering number, to say the least. 11 million and 60 licenses. And how many is there in Canada?
I think there's well over 500 in Ontario and 500 licensed in Alberta. So yeah, it's different. Ohio just came out with some an announcement that they're going to have some additional dispensary licenses that come online, but it's still going to be a very small number as a percentage of the population.
Yeah. Almighty America. That's where the opportunity is. Want to focus last thing on the Safe Banking Act. As you know, as we've talked about, it has moved through Congress. Will be entering the Senate, where a friendly Senate Majority Leader, Chuck Schumer, and Democratic majority gives SAFE its best chances ever becoming law. As we talked about before, maybe some mismanaged expectations where people thought it would become pass, I guess I should say, earlier this year. So I wanted to ask specifically, SAFE would open up banking services that are not available, obviously, to the industry today, including the potential use for credit card purchases. So, Trip, I want to ask you, maybe explain to my viewers about what sort of impact buying on credit would have in terms of increasing basket sizes of consumers that are entering your dispensaries.
Yeah, we do believe that if they can use their credit card and not have to have these roll-up ATM machines that we have to use right now, that they will spend, on the average, it's between 4 and 10%, depends on the jurisdiction and the makeup of the population in that location. But we're excited for that. There's more to it than just the credit cards. The credit cards are a big part of it for our business, but it's also about being able to do business with our vendors and do business by check and eliminate that cash component that really is a friction point for our industry. So we look forward to the credit cards and the increased sales, and of course the convenience for our customers. But we look forward to other aspects of that bill as well.
That's exciting. Walk me through, if I'm a consumer, I'm in Las Vegas right now. What are you seeing as far as like an idea, average transaction size, and how often are people coming in?
So in Las Vegas, the primary driver of traffic is still going to be your visitors now. There's a big healthy component of locals that we're aware of as well. The visitors are typically spending well in advance, in excess of $100. It might be spending as much as $150, I think. If you're at Planet 13, it might even be north of 200 in certain days and things. The locals are going to spend, 75 to 100 when they come in. here it's a little bit, blue collar in terms of the local connoisseur.
Yeah.
And they're going to come shop very frequently. They're going to shop a couple times a week probably, and get whatever they need early in the week and then for the weekend. So there's a lot of repeat shopping. I mean, it's not much different than someone who goes and buys a 6-pack of beer a couple times a week. And that's how the consumer is now enjoying our product.
Yeah. If and when safe banking does get passed, Michael, this gives an opportunity for companies like yourself potentially to be uplisted on either the NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange. Are these opportunities or kind of like foundations that you are anticipating, you're already working on? Like, where does stuff like that sit?
Yeah, you've always got to be thinking, years ahead in this business, and certainly access to U.S. capital markets is something that the Canadian licensed producers enjoy. Listing on the NASDAQ and the NYSE gives a lot more volume than many of the U.S. names certainly get right now. We're fairly fortunate that we've got a few structural aspects of body and mind that are set up well to move into those listings. And I wouldn't want to stretch that safe banking automatically means capital market access. Safe banking was designed as a very stripped down bill to really take the cash component out of the cannabis industry and make it safe for the entire industry. I believe the last number I saw was there's about $11 billion floating around in cash in the industry.
Wow.
Between vendors and tax payments and all these groups. And really the Safe Banking Act was trying to, prevent all this cash from moving around. So in a perfect world, we'd see that move through fairly quickly. Certainly through, it's come through Congress for the fourth time. Seeing it come through the Senate would be fantastic.
Wouldn't it?
But I think that saying that safe banking is going to pass and now there's access to full capital markets may be a bit of a stretch at this point. Certainly, one of the things that I think a lot of investors don't understand is that cannabis companies cannot borrow from banks. They can't have lines of credits from banks.
Right.
And when you look at any other business, that's a major function of running a business. So having that access to mortgages would be a real step up for this industry.
Well, even last week when they were talking about possibly descheduling it to a Schedule 2, that really wouldn't do anything with the 280 tax code, would it?
It wouldn't, and the 280 tax code is probably a next step on the long list of really legislation that is going to move the cannabis industry closer to the way every other industry operates. When you look at the hurdles of running a cannabis business, between regulation, between the 280 tax code, between lack of access to sort of the broad North American investor market, any one of these things could be a fairly significant macro event. And we've seen the attitude start to change. So I expect that at some point we'll see, the political will follow the will of the people.
Mm-hmm. Can you imagine in 3 or 4 years from now, if there's federal legalization in place, the two of you sitting back and thinking, look at all the hurdles that we had to be in, loops and all that sort of stuff that we had to jump through. And man, am I glad those days are in the rearview mirror. But needless to say, the overall industry, the health of it all is obviously moving in the right direction. And I appreciate you guys catching up with us here today and giving us an update.
Thanks very much, Shad.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Trip, keep safe, my friend.
Thank you, Shad.
All right,
Yep.
Gentlemen, keep in touch and let's hear more, some good news, but congrats on the recent developments within the business. All right.
Thanks a lot.
All right, take care.
Bye now.